to the point where the Holy Prophet started. All the trouble that he went through to install within you the value system that was contradictory to Jahiliyyah, all the Jahiliyyah mindset has come back. So you have to be shaken and literally turned upside down. So the new government, with the first speech, the person who's in charge, to use the metaphor of the government today, identifies exactly what policy he's going to follow. Now, if 25 years you have got used to the comfort zone, to the notion that nobody asks questions as to where you get the money, where you get the loot, how you spend it, at the expense of who's going to be, then are they going to accept justice in this absolute form? Far from it. The first battle that started, Battle of Jamal, where they bring the wife of the Holy Prophet and put her on the back of a camel and use her as a symbol to go ahead, wasn't for justice. It was for the wealth to be preserved, because they came to Amir al-Mu'mineen and said, let bygones be bygones. If he's going to say, he swears, he says, my justice is such that if this wealth has taken illegally from Baytul Mal, and you have used it to marry, to pay dowry for a marriage, I would nullify that marriage and take the money back. Do you think these people are going to tolerate it? The essence, what the Quraysh was afraid, was not the prayer that the Holy Prophet offered during in mosques. We have seen tyrants today do the same thing. I remember during the Islamic Revolution in Iran, the Iranian despot made a comment. He said, you want mosque? I create 20,000 mosques for you. Go into the mosque and pray. Don't touch politics. So going back to the Jahiliyyah, the Quraysh power structure were not afraid of somebody going to the mosque and offering prayer. They were afraid of this absolute justice, that when you allow Muhammad to come to power, what is he going to do? Between the head of one tribe and his servant are going to be equal, as it happened during the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen. The first time that he begins distribution of Baytul Mal during his life, immediately the first objection comes from one of the so-called disciples, that he finds it intolerable that Imam gives his right equal to a freed slave. And when Imam challenged him, he said, well, isn't this what Islam did? That the base, remember that our conversation a few nights before, Islam came and shifted the whole value system. Where before Quraysh worked on class, race, wealth, blood, etc., clan, Islam said all of this are rejected. Inna akramakum indallah atqakum. How much you can bring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into the equation of your life is an indication whether you are worthy of something or not. Not how big a house do you have, how many cars do you have, how many camels you've got outside, how many horses you have, how many slaves you have. These are irrelevant. This was why Quraysh immediately reacted when they saw all the beginning, the youth and the slaves, the freed slaves that are beginning to move towards this new religion. And they thought, he wants power. So they went to Abdul Muttalib or Abu Talib, they said, tell this nephew of yours, what does he want? He wants wealth. We will fill all the golds and silvers for him. He wants beautiful women? Let him choose. Still not registering. The penny is not dropping. That this is a revolution, it's a radical change. Revolution by its nature is not going to be a revolution unless it turns the system upside down. I remember, political science, international relations is part of my field. I was analyzing one of the speeches that Marhum Imam gave at the beginning of the Islamic Revolution when they, according to the narrative used, the spy den, or the den of the spies, the American embassy in Tehran was occupied by the youth. One of the Western correspondents went to Iran and reminded Imam that this is against international law. And Imam said, who wrote that international law? Did we write it or you did? If you did, revolution has come to tell you that we are not prepared to play by the old game. So revolution that Muhammad brings to tell these people that we are not prepared to play by the old game is change. Get it as quickly as possible. Now what happened? 25 years after his demise, we are dealing with the same old system again, where justice, equity, parity, etc., are no longer to be worthwhile. How much money you have, how close you are. When Khalifa, the third Khalif of a Muslim, is supposed to be representative of the Holy Prophet, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, one of the 8 scribes that the Holy Prophet used to write Quran, is kicked and hit and beaten up until he loses consciousness, for the simple reason that he objects to this limitless generosity that Uthman has towards his own family. He says Baytul Mal is supposed to be spent for everybody else, not the wealthy individuals that you have. In the broad daylight. Abu Dhar, there's so much we have from the Holy Prophet about how well of an individual he was, is exiled from Medina. Why? Because he criticizes Uthman for all this lavish lifestyle. Marwan ibn al-Hakam, the one that the Holy Prophet expelled and exiled from Medina, and called him names that if he comes to Medina, that will be the beginning of the corruption within the Medina, is brought back by the third Khalif, compensated for the time that he spent in exile with 80,000 dinar gold. And his daughter is given to Marwan ibn al-Hakam to become his son-in-law. And then we claim Khalifatul Muslimin. This is the Khalifa. If this becomes the role model, what do you expect? There is an expression that says, with friends like these, who needs enemies? If this is the Khalifa, we don't need anything else. If this is the standard, the role model that the Khalif is supposed to impose or project for the rest of the community, God help us if the corrupt people come in. 25 years later, no wonder Imam comes and says, what you have in your hand is nothing more of a shell of Islam. You are acting or holding the outline of the faith. The spirit of the faith is dead. Let me give you an example. This I know a little bit academic, but I hope as an example it drives my point. In any organization, be it business or anything else, there are two models. They say the organizational model and the management model. The organizational model is the blueprint that the organization has that clearly defines where it intends to go. The management model are the team that this organization would bring to put it so that they will implement that blue model within the company. If we have no congruity between the two, let me give you another example. We have two, when it comes to economic, two Western theories exist. Capitalism and socialism. Don't tell me socialism is East. No, it's a Western political economy. Because initially it started from West, it happened that a particular group of people implemented it in Russia. It's two Western political economy or economic theory, the capitalist and the socialist. Now, for argument's sake, if you have an organization in which the blueprint, the organizational model is capitalist structure, but you bring a team of managers in that they are socialist orientation, what are you going to have? You're going to have perfect harmony? Or you're going to have tension because the blueprint of an organizational model is pulling in one direction and the management model is pulling into other direction. When they two cooperate, then you have something. Islam has a blue model for the society. You need a management model that takes that responsibility and implement it within the society. If there is tension and conflict between the image that the management model gives with the blueprint that Islam gives, we're going to have crisis. And the crisis would be at the expense of the value of Islam, not at the expense of the management model. The management model uses the opportunity. يَخْضَمُونَ مَالَ اللَّهِ خَضْمَ الْإِبِلِ رَبْتَةَ الرَّبِيعِ. Like camels that have not had no grass for some times, now the green shoots are coming out. They are eating as if there is no tomorrow. I gave you an example yesterday. Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, just one of the 6 people that Omar appointed as a panel. If you know, you can go to any books on economics or accountancy and use the net present value formula. It's a very simple formula that you can use. 1,300, that's your in. Choose rate of recession 5%, and use the amount when you calculate what he had at the time to the present value now. Abdul Rahman ibn Auf has close to $60 billion our time. That's during the time where people were dying out of starvation. Let alone the amount of money Talha had, let alone the amount of money Zubair had, let alone Uthman himself had, or anybody else. Marwan ibn al-Hakam had, or anybody else. They really